This video is brought to you by Loot Crate. Head today to lootcrate.com/reviewtechusa and enter the code RTU to save 10% on any subscription plan. Skip it up and that up. So Kotaku has finally, albeit indirectly, addressed all of the controversy that's been going on over the past couple weeks in the gaming industry regarding Phil Fish, Zoe Quinn, and Anita Sarkeesian. They kind of, Luke Plunkett from Kotaku wrote kind of a monologue, let's say, about his feelings on the whole thing. And I'm going to read it verbatim. It's fairly long because there's some points that I agree with and there's some points that I totally don't agree with. So I'm going to read it to you and then I'll discuss it. The article is titled, "We Might Be Witnessing the Death of an Identity," and this is what Luke had to say. I've been working at Kotaku for nearly 8 years now. While I've seen some online kerfuffles over various issues in that time, I've never seen anything like the past 2 weeks. There has been so much hate, so many angry words, so many accusations over what? Video games? Women in video games? People who write about video games? It would be absurd if it hadn't forced people out of their homes for fear of their personal safety. There are a lot of opinions going around about this sad state of affairs at the moment, and you don't have to travel far to find some. But if you want to read something beyond a simple recap, something more substantive, my advice as someone horrified by the degree of hostility, bigotry, and sheer inhumanity that has been on show is to start with these two articles. The first, by Dan Golding, is called "The End of Gamers." On the evidence of the last few weeks, he writes, "What we are seeing is the end of gamers and the viciousness that accompanies the death of an identity." The second, by Lee Alexander, is called "Gamers Don't Have to Be Your Audience. Gamers Are Over." It's a similar piece, albeit one aimed a little more at developers. Gamer isn't just a dated demographic label that most people increasingly prefer not to use, she writes. Gamers are over. That's why they're so mad. These obtuse shit-slingers, these wailing hyper-consumers, these childish internet arguers, they are not my audience. They don't have to be yours. There is no side to be on. There is no debate to be had. Note they're not talking about everyone who plays games or who self-identifies as a gamer as being the worst. It's being used in these cases as shorthand, a catch-all term for the type of reactionary holdouts that feel so threatened by gaming's widening horizons. If you call yourself a gamer and are a cool person, keep on being a cool person. Once you're done here, I'll see you next week, where we can hang out as thoughtful, considerate human beings and enjoy video games as they are, not what some folks feel they can dictate from a dark corner of the internet. Now again, my hat goes off to Luke Plunkett. That was a fantastic article, one of the best I've seen on Kotaku. Again, I have a link to it below in the description. Please go read it. He has links to other excellent articles in his article. It's an excellent read. They are all excellent reads. Go check him out. I really think it was fantastic work that Luke did here. But the part that Luke is missing, and the point that he's missing, is that what people are angry at Luke is that this whole nonsense with Phil Fish and Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian, the mainstream media, such as Kotaku, such as IGN, such as GameSpot, so on and so forth, and every other place basically, minus the Daily Dot, glazed over the other things that were going on behind the scenes, the possible corruption that was going on behind the scenes, where you have developers fraternizing with journalists, and that could be skewing scores. You have, again, what people do in their bedrooms. I could care less about it. If you like, having sex with zebras, Godspeed to you. Do what you want to do. But when it affects the industry, and it could affect game scores, and it could affect how credible journalists are, that's what people were concerned about. And what people were angry at, and why people were angry at places like Kotaku, is you guys weren't talking about it. Now, I know the defense is going to be from Kotaku and IGN and other places. Well, we shouldn't speculate on rumors, but you kind of do that all the time. How many times have I seen IGN articles and articles from Kotaku and articles from other places where you're talking about stuff that you read from forums or people that were supposed insiders in the industry without any substantial proof? And why wouldn't you talk about this? And that's what made people angry too, is like, why are they trying to sweep this under the rug? This whole thing with Zoe Quinn and the Five Guys, and how it could have caused corruption in the industry, and how, you know, someone, I'm not going to name them, from Kotaku could possibly be living with a developer, and that could cause issues. And, you know, that's definitely a conflict of interest. That's what people are angry at. They were angry at all of this corruption that could be going on, and none of the mainstream sites were talking about it. No one was talking about it. That's what people were angry at. And that's what I see in this article, Luke, you kind of missed talking about. That's what people were concerned about. Now, Dan Golding, I got to call you out too. You didn't talk about, okay, you talked about a random woman developer, and I'm safely assuming that you were talking about Zoe Quinn, and people were attacking her personal relationships, so on and so forth. Again, as far as I know, at least everyone that I talked to, no one gave a shit about what people were doing in their bedrooms. What they cared about with the relationships that Zoe had was the fact that it could have been causing corruption in the industry. It's not that they cared about what she was doing in her bedroom, Dan. They cared about what she was doing in her interpersonal relationships that could affect the industry professionally. That's the point, again, Dan, that you're missing, and that's the point that Luke missed as well. I don't care. Mundane Matt doesn't care. Total Biscuit, as far as I know, he doesn't care about what people are doing in their bedrooms for the sake of knowing what they're doing in their bedrooms. They cared because they cared about what it was doing to the industry, and that's what people were concerned about. They were concerned about the corruption, not people's sex lives. Now, about the threats made against these people, whether or not they're true, I know firsthand from getting threats myself is that this shit happens. And I understand that people get frustrated, they get angry, and they want to lash out at people. But some of the stuff that I've dealt with, and the reason I'm talking about myself because I understand where other people are coming from, is disgusting. I've had threats from people because they didn't like, true threats from people, personal emails, which is kind of scary because you know when it's personal, it's not a comment section in YouTube, that people may be a tad more serious. I've had personal threats made against me because they didn't like something I said about PlayStation or PS4 or Microsoft, and they were going to, you know, find out my information and do things to me. And I know it happens. Now, whether or not it actually happened to Zoe Quinn or she's making it up, I don't know. And I'm not going there, but I know it does happen. And to the people who do these things, who dox people, who hack people, who threaten people, who threaten to come kick their ass or find out their information so they could hurt them. Let me just explain something to you. You're not helping anything. I think some of you might think you are that do this, but you're actually making the gaming community take a step back. And the stereotypes that people have for gamers out there, when you do this stuff, when you have bomb threats on planes where Sony executives are on, or when you hack Sony servers with a DDoS attack, all you're doing is solidifying and amplifying the stereotype that gamers are these angry, antisocial 30-year-old virgin shut-ins that have no social skills and they're like a bane to society. They're a weight on human existence. That's all you're doing. You're not helping the cause when you get people threatened, when you put out people's personal information, when you do horrible things to them behind the anonymity of your keyboard. I kind of got that out. You're not helping. You're hurting the cause. You're hurting gaming to become a respectable form of entertainment. It's almost there, but when people do stuff like this and do threats and do hacks, it makes the whole gaming community take a step back. And what I'm afraid of is this. It was so funny when I talk about the fact that I was doxxed in my last video with Phil Fish before I found out the whole other side to the Phil Fish story. A lot of people were like, oh, rich people just do those docs so people get pizzas delivered to them and they didn't order them or so on and so forth. And I'm saying, you're assuming that. You're assuming that's all that's going to happen. How do you know there isn't some mentally unstable freak out there that is not going to show up with a gun to someone's doorstep because they don't agree with them on an issue? I've been threatened before and other people have been threatened. You're just hoping and assuming that it'll just be a lighthearted joke. And because it's not an if, it's when someone, God forbid, in this industry, this community gets hurt or killed, do you know what's going to happen then? You want to see how far gamers and gaming take a step back? You'll go back to the Stone Ages. You'll go back to the stereotype that people had in the 80s of gamers, where they threw anyone over the age of like 12 that played video games were these antisocial weirdos that you want to keep your kids away from. You want to hurt the image of gamers? Let something like that happen. Because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, if this bullshit keeps up where people get doxxed and hacked and all that crap. For all you guys that do that, you're walking on thin ice. And the day that someone gets hurt or killed, it's going to be a bad day for this whole industry, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be a very bad day. And the mainstream acceptance that everyone in the gaming community has been working for the past 3 decades will be lost when that happens. It'll be lost, and it'll be tragic, not only because someone got hurt or lost their life, but because all the work that all the gaming journalists, developers, and consumers have done to make the gaming industry be mainstream will be lost. Virtually all of it will be lost, I should say. Mark my words. All right, folks, this is Rich of Review Tech USA. Make sure to rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for supporting my channel. Have a good one. The preceding video was brought to you by Big Cheese's YouTube channel. For gameplay reviews, gaming music, and vlogs, subscribe to Big Cheese VG. Link below in the description.